Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real People, Real Stories, Raw. I am excited and thrilled to have a friend of mine in the studio with me this afternoon. Jen Ramsey is actually, her homeland is back in Australia, and it is 7 a.m. one day after us. So you're always on a future trip because you're ahead of us here in the United
I'm,
States.
I'm a time
Welcome.
traveler, Jay. Welcome. Thanks so much for having me, Jay. I really appreciate it.
I want to take a moment here to share this out across different channels. Um, so bear with me a moment here while I put it out there. But I wanted to come in today. Last night, I had the honor to be interviewed, be part of a conversation with another one of your citizens in Australia, Nathan Miola. I don't know if you know Nathan or not. But he asked me to come in and we had a long conversation about short-term, long-term fasting and how that could help improve health and healing medical conditions. And we got into, the current state of affairs. And I thought it would be a great opportunity as people jump on with us right now, coming in, I'm presuming from all over the world. If you're in our community, if you're watching and listening, please be so kind to drop a note. Let us know what city, state, and or country you're joining in from. And I will acknowledge you for that. My intention today was to have a panel. I invited another long distance friend of mine to come in who right now is holed up in Amsterdam. He's having some challenges as he just got checked into a youth hostel. I don't think they call them youth anymore. They're just called hostels. But his name is Trevor Korn, and I'm hopeful that he will join us at some point today in this conversation. Corey says she's coming in from Dallas. Charity is coming in from Monroe. I believe that's Louisiana. I don't think that's LA as in Los Angeles, but I could be wrong. I know Russ Birchfield, a friend of mine, is coming in from Atlanta, Georgia. And rural Missouri, Cindy Aldridge is coming in. Welcome, Cindy. This is an opportunity for, I believe, for those of us that are in the business of inspiring others to step forward and really be present in this moment of uncertainty. And for me, it just feels right. It feels how I personally want to spend my days is connecting with people during these moments of social distancing, as they are referred to it in the United States. And there's no better way to do it than through, whether it be video chat, video connecting, and or going live through social media. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to check in with people from around the globe, such as yourself. Australia is a little bit behind, thankfully, the United States as far as how many people right now have been diagnosed. Where Trevor lives right now, he's been living in Germany. Germany is relatively a hotspot in the world right now, based on statistics that obviously are changing by the day and by the moment. But right now, there's China, Italy, Iran, Spain, and then Germany. And Trevor joined living in Germany back in September to be an au pair for a year, fresh out of high school, and decided to go overseas and have that experience. And in the last week, he was actually traveling in Paris, France, which is right below Germany as far as how many cases there are. Germany has, as of the last moments, 8,604 cases of the virus. U.S. is behind, where Trevor has been located at 5,677 cases. And we have Australia a bit down at 452. But I'm interested to know what has been your experience, and how has Australia been managing the situation back on your land, on your home?
Oh, thanks, Jay. Well, look, it's been a really it's a constantly evolving situation here, as I know it is for you in the US and everywhere around the world. It's really what I'm saying now and what I'm feeling is that change is the new normal. Coronavirus has catapulted us into a very much a very different world. And it's something that in our society, in Australia, everyone's sort of coming to terms with. So, on Sunday, our time, our government stepped up its response plan. So what that meant was that a range of things happened. We decided that no cruise ships could come to Australia for 30 days. Every person returning or every person coming to Australia, as soon as they hit the country, they need to go into automatic 14 days self-isolation or self-quarantine. And then the government also hinted at other changes that are going to happen this week. The other key thing that happened on Sunday was cancellation of all large events, more than 500 people. So here, as in the US, what that means is that our sporting events are now spectator-free. So our football, we're just coming into our winter football season, which is a huge season for people in Australia. People enjoy going to football, they enjoy watching it. So that's effectively gone spectator free, and some of the players are concerned about traveling and concerned about communicating this virus to other people. So there's a wide range of community concern. We've had the toilet paper stockpiling situation. We've had people literally, sadly, fighting in grocery stores over things like toilet paper. So there's been I think here, as in the US, there's been a real shock. People have been very shocked. There's been a lot of fear-based activity. I mean, my view on this is that we're really experiencing, aside from the coronavirus itself, we're really experiencing a pandemic of fear, and that's been the thing that I've highlighted. That's I guess come to my awareness more than anything, and I really believe that we can do something about that pandemic of fear within ourselves. But I'll talk a bit about that later. But this morning, our government is going, in about an hour's time, our government's going to be having another press conference where I'm assuming they're going to be introducing some more measures. But bottom line is, here, as in I think the US and in most countries in the world, the government is wanting to sort of flatten the peak of this so it doesn't overwhelm our health system. So the government's really just wanting to just flatten this out. So that means more social distancing, people staying at home where they can. The other thing, and I guess this has touched me personally, in that my son has had 2 contacts with 2 people with coronavirus. So it's come touched our family life. The other, he's fine. He's fine at the moment, but he's in self-isolation until the 29th of March. He's older, so he lives on his own with our other son. So they're managing that in their household, but we're providing support where we can. And the other impact, personally, is that a lot of our aged care facilities are going into lockdown, and my father, who's in an aged care facility, his aged care facility have gone into lockdown. They don't have any cases, but they are putting a lot of precautions in place. So I think what that indicates is that we're just in this environment where I think awareness of this and I guess awareness in terms of changes to daily life, we were, if you like, going along, knowing that we needed to be careful and practicing healthy hygiene. But in the last week, it's gone like this in terms of, wow, we've really got to be aware. And I guess, Jay, my biggest concern is yes, we need to be aware, we need to practice common sense, we need to be prepared, but we've really got to really be managing. The thing that we can manage here more than anything is our own perspective on this and our own personal response. And that's really, really vital. And I know myself, a week or so ago, I got sucked into the rabbit hole down the rabbit hole in terms of all of the fear and the social media and on the media. And I could see how it didn't do me any good. And in fact, it started coloring a lot of other things in my life. So I've really, and I guess in terms of what I do, I'm a coach and I'm also a corporate advisor in issues management. So it's kind of interesting. I'm working with a couple of clients on their COVID-19 response perspective, and I'm also coaching people. So I'm seeing both ends of the spectrum, and I'm just seeing the importance of really managing your own alignment, managing your own view of this within yourself. This is something that you can do. That is something that is within your control.
Jen, if I may ask, you mentioned that you found yourself sucked into the rabbit hole. Two questions come to mind is, how did you find yourself there? And how did you crawl out?
Okay, great. Well, that's a great question. And really, how I found myself there, it happened just like that. And I have a very strong view. My experience of the world, Jay, is that, I create my own reality. That's the perspective that I come from. That's my I guess my philosophy in life. I create my own reality. So what I expose myself, what I think about, who I associate with is what I get. And during this, in the last month, and as this sort of crisis was sort of increasing in its intensity, if you like, I'd been pretty careful about not getting overexposed. I don't watch the news. I manage and filter the information that comes to me, because I do really believe that there's a lot of fear out there that I don't need to buy into on a daily basis. And but what was really interesting, I had one conversation with a friend who was older, who was in a risk group, and that conversation, she's very, very concerned, and that conversation it got me, it really got me, because I care about her, because I'm personally invested. She's a very, very dear friend. She's in her 70s. She's like a mother to me. My mother passed away last year, sadly, and this beautiful lady, Lynn, she's a really close to my heart. And when I had this conversation with her, I got pulled in. And at about the same time as that conversation, I watched a special that a current affairs program had put together here in Australia. And I watched an episode of the news, and suddenly I was straight down the rabbit hole. It happened very quickly and almost imperceptibly. And I realized, though, within about 24 to 48 hours, I could see how suddenly, not only was I feeling, down and sad about what was going on with coronavirus, and I had these worries about my friend, and I could see how this feeling was starting to sort of filter out into the rest of my life. It was starting to color my view of what was going on in terms of, the economy, and what was going on in my own business, what was going on for other people. And then I realized, I just had this aha moment. I just went, oh my God, I've been sucked into the illusion of this. I have been sucked into what's going on. I can choose my perspective right now. I can choose my perspective. And it was when I realized what I felt like, because I went inside my body and I realized, okay, I'm in a low spot. What's going on right here? And I had that little dialogue with myself, and I went, oh, I'm suffering coronavirus overexposure. I could just see that within myself. And so I just realized that I needed to just choose my perspective. I had a choice in that instant to choose my perspective and to reduce my exposure to what was going on in social media and the media, and to really choose what I was focusing on. And, I subscribe to the belief that everything that happens in our lives is here to teach us something, and that I'm not a victim to it, but that I can, there's something in all of this for us. And I believe this virus has many things to teach us. And so I just flipped the coin on looking at this, and I thought, okay, what is this here to teach me? And what is this here to remind me of? What is this here to remind me of? And in that moment, it was really here to remind me of that I have a conscious choice always to really look and to deal with the situation in a different way. So that was it, Jay. It was just this realization, and then practicing a few things. So things that, how do I pull myself out? Well, firstly, it was realizing that. Secondly, it was, maintaining and ramping up, actually, because I'd still be meditating, but ramping up my meditation practice and my yoga practice. Really just looking at what I was exposing myself to in terms of conversations, and really choosing to have gratitude for the things that I have in my life and that are here, and to really focus on what I can do to support others at this time. So all of those things really made a big difference.
How have your family members, including your husband and your dad and your children, how are they holding up? emotionally and mentally in this moment?
Yeah, great question. Well, let's start with my dad. He's the elder of the family, and he's he's in this crisis in this high risk group, and he's in an aged care facilities. But my dad's still very mentally able. He has a few mobility issues, but still very mentally and emotionally able. And we've been sort of having conversations every day this week. And my father he's probably one of the most optimistic people that I know. He's up there with you, Jay Rothman, in terms of how optimistic and future focused you are, and the way that you approach life. And so's my father. And so he has taken this, step by step, very pragmatically. And I think some of that also comes from the fact that he's 86 years old. He's seen many things in his life. He lost his own parents very young. He lost my mother last year, 12 months ago this week. So he is a very pragmatic person. Having said that, this means for him some changes. And the big thing for him, which, again, he took it on the chin, he's incredible. But the big thing this week was that we were meant to get together on the weekend. He was meant to come and stay with me. We were meant to have an extended family gathering to honour my mother's passing, because it was a year on Sunday. And we weren't able to do that. And then I'd hoped to be able to go to see him on Sunday, but because of my son's contact, I couldn't physically go to see him. I couldn't put him and his nursing home at risk. So I've had to really step back, and he's had to accept that. So, speaking to him, I'm speaking to him every day. Fortunately, we've got him to use an iPhone, so we're going to be I'm going to teach him now how to FaceTime. Yeah. That's going to be our new lifeline. And I spoke yesterday with one of the people at his nursing home about his welfare and what he will need to do just to stay in a good shape. And my father does a lot of art, and he does a lot of singing. So, but at the moment, he can't go out to his art class with his friends, and none of the people who sing can come in. But I think what's going to happen is that within a few days, within a little while, he's going to be back singing and creating music and joy for people inside his nursing home, because he's one of the people in that place that can create that joy for people. So if I know my father, he'll be stepping up into that role pretty quickly. So that's Dad. I feel like I'm talking a lot, so I'll go on if you'd like. My son Peter is amazing as well. He's been in self-isolation now since the 13th of March. And because of the second contact that he had, he's now going to be in isolation until the 29th of March. And this is pretty serious. Our government sent him a letter. He's got to be at home, for this period of time. But Peter is a very capable person and very, very self-sufficient. So his university is moving to an online model. So he will be able to access his classes from next week online. So he's just trucking through. Our job is to make sure that there's food and everything that he needs, but he was pretty stocked up, and we're just keeping in contact with him in terms of how he's going and just having regular conversations.
He has no symptoms at this point?
No, and because of his situation and because of the contact we'd had and the fact that I'd wanted to go to see my father, I had asked him to go and get a test before, as he went to self-isolation. The government gave it to him, and he came back on a negative on the first contact. But now that he's had a second contact, he has got to stay in self-isolation. We're not going to get him to get a second test at this point, because he's feeling pretty strong. But he's fit and young and strong. So, that's what we need to do. We need to keep him fit and strong. I'm just seeing Deborah's comment here. If we don't watch the news to be informed, that's a positive thing. But if we don't do what the CDC says, is that keeps the virus spreading. So what do we do? And I guess, Deborah, what I'm saying is monitor what's going on. Like, I'm still checking in with my news once or twice a day to understand what to do. I'm still checking in on, if new measures and precautions are being put in place. But the difference here is that I'm not glued to my phone 24/7. I'm not checking the news every 5 minutes, because that's not good for my perspective. I'm still keeping myself informed, and I certainly encourage everyone watching to keep yourself informed. Keep checking in. Maybe just say to yourself, I'm going to check in twice a day. I'm going to check in morning and night. But things are not going to change that rapidly within a 24-hour period. If you check in twice, maybe 3 times a day, you'll keep in contact with what's going on. But it's not this constant, because I think sometimes what happens is is we might say, well, I won't check the phone, I won't check the news, but I'll keep on my scrolling on my phone. But the problem is that, well, not the problem, but the potential there is that there can be a lot of sort of coronavirus kind of commentary going on. So it's up to you entirely. It's everyone's choice on this. But what I've noticed for myself is that by checking in twice a day, I can keep an eye on what I need to do in my local community, what I need to do for my family, but that I also need to, I need to manage my own perspective on this. So I hope that helps.
I'd like to piggyback on that, Jen, and thank you for answering that question. I'd like to also share, Deborah, that I don't know if you have raised children or been exposed to nieces or nephews or cousins or younger, but if you think about it, when you're raising children, and as a parent, or if you're responsible to babysit them, you're paying attention to how they are showing up in a moment. We are, as the caretaker and caregiver for our children, we are paying attention to their mood, to their emotions in the moment. And when we see that they are off kilter or cranky or seem to be scared, crying, fearful, whatever they are expressing, either through their words or their behaviors, what do we typically do is we show up for them. We parent them. We try to determine what is behind their emotions in that moment and to assure them that they're going to be safe, that they're loved, that they're okay. And if they need something, if it's a diaper change, we change the diaper. If they're tired, we may lay down, take a nap with them. If they are hungry, hopefully we provide them with healthy food choices. If they're thirsty, hopefully we provide them with something healthy to drink like water and not sugar drinks. Now, if we were to flip that, fast forward to this moment, understanding, let's just for this purpose here, Jen, let's just acknowledge that we all still have a child alive within us. And most of the time, I could tell you when I'm in fear, when I'm in future tripping thoughts that aren't happening in this moment, it's that little boy inside that I refer to as JJ that just got sucked into that rabbit hole and he's scared. And my role is just the same as it was when I was raising my three beautiful sons, which is to parent that child, to know in that moment, to have the awareness as to how I'm feeling, what's going on inside emotionally, inside my thoughts, inside how's my body physically responding, and then ask myself, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to calm myself down? What do I need to do? What do you need from me right now, Jay? That little boy inside. And most of the time, I'm able to pull him out of those moments of fear, worry, fright, the unknown. And I make healthy choices myself that I wasn't capable of making when I was a child. There's where mom and dad's come in. That's what their responsibility was. But today it's my responsibility. So much like yourself, Jen, I am unplugged from TV. I pick and choose when and where I want to pick up news wire from, whether it be the online news or social media. But I too, as a human, have to really monitor how much I pick up. Just like, look, if we have a child that is obsessed with playing video games, I remember my oldest boy, it was early on in the 90s. He was born in 89. But it was really the beginning of the video game craze. And he needed to be monitored and he needed to be managed for how much time we allowed him to be in it. Because when he was in it, he was there, he wasn't here. And he was physically impacted by being in it. I mean, he would just have that behavior that, was scary to watch. And thankfully today, I'm not sure how much of an influence our managing his time on that screen helped him, but he's not hooked to video games. He's not a 30-year-old that's obsessed with it, thankfully. So hopefully between Jen and mine's perspective, that was helpful to you, Deborah. It really just comes down to us parenting ourselves, and paying attention to how we are responding and reacting in a moment, and know when we can say, it's time for a timeout. I need to put myself in a timeout in this moment, just like my children responded to that, and it was good for them. I need to know when I need to put myself in a timeout from the news and put my mind elsewhere.
Absolutely, Jay. I just love that, and it's something we potentially don't think about. As you say, we think about for our children, but we can do this just as well for ourselves. So what a beautiful analogy. And you're right. It's about time out. It's about time out. I love it.
Let me ask you this, Jen. And by the way, I'm just so thrilled to have you with me today. I don't know. I think this may be our fourth time that we're doing a live together. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. And I always enjoy spending time with you. I have such respect for you as a human being, as well as the work that you do and how you show up for other people and how you've showed up for me in my own life, just on time. But I want to ask you, how are you managing your health from the standpoint of in the United States, and I think globally, the governments are really focusing on prevention, how to potentially prevent either getting the virus or being a carrier of the virus. But I don't hear them talking a whole lot about how we can boost up our immunity, other than through hand washing and social distancing, and maybe a mask works, but maybe it doesn't. I'm curious to know, from your perspective, what part does the piece of your own choices that you're making in your health make? How are you taking care of yourself? What does nutrition even look like for you today?
I love it, Jay. So what a great question. And I think it's really core to all of this, because so I guess I'm putting a lot of attention on my health and my family's health at the moment. So this is about, really getting back to the basics of what I do every day, but really making sure that those things are in place. So, core to my world is my morning routine, where I do, I do a meditation. I do some yoga postures, a meditation, and some breath work and some journaling. And that starts my day off well, because it's effectively that time. It's that time out for me, to use that analogy that you've used, where I know that I can just get back to center. And when I'm journaling, with my inner self, with my inner child, and I'm asking what it is that she wants or needs for the day, what it is that she needs or wants to do. So I find that practice really good, really, really important. I'm also really focusing on, maintaining, the supplements and the vitamins that I take. So I've got some here now. It's early in the morning, but I've got my here. I'm to show them to you, but I've got my vitamins here. So really making sure, it's when we get busy, and I'm busier at the moment. I've got quite a few things going on. I've got different people needing me at the moment, and so but I know I need to keep that up. Boosting the immune system is also really, we do this through the sleep that we get. So really maintaining good sleep habits and good nutrition. So the food that I put in my body. So healthy, whole, unprocessed foods. We have put in place in the cupboard, non-perishable items and things like that. But really, I think here for right now, we're in a position where we can go and get fresh food. So just keeping eating that fresh food, having smoothies every day, green smoothies, eating salads, whole foods, fish, all of those sorts of things that really are designed just to keep our body going. But because I think this is the thing, the government has a job just to communicate the basics to the community. They've got to get to a wide range of people, and the healthy hygiene is really important. I saw some research the other day that said 25% of people don't wash their hands. Hello? I wonder why we do have these community spread diseases if we're not doing basic things like washing our hands. Hand washing was one of the major breakthroughs in the 19th century in healthcare across the world. And if 25% of us are not doing it, then this is a problem. And this is why we do have the spread of these sort of illnesses and other illnesses. So I think the government's got its hands full. In terms of communicating the basics, I think for the rest of us, it's about finding that information, or just knowing knowing what we know to be true in ourselves. And I guess, Jay, this is where I sort of tap into my inner wisdom in terms of what does my body need right now? And so in my morning journaling, I'm asking that question: what does my body need right now? What do I need right now? What do I need to stay fit and strong and healthy? And I think the other part of my recipe, if you like, for choosing calm in all of this is to really, it's back to choosing that perspective, just really monitoring what I'm focused on, because fear, and I was looking at this last week in terms of statistics, fear can cause illness in the body. University of Minnesota, I've got 2 studies from the University of Minnesota, one from Harvard, that basically say when we become fearful or anxious, it can create more illness in our body. So this is, if we want to keep our immune system high, this is another reason why we have to really, really choose a healthy perspective, because we've got to if we keep our focus in a healthy place and don't dip into that fear well, that fear rabbit hole, we are then going to keep ourselves strong and our immune system strong for ourselves and for our family. So that's, I guess, a bit of my approach. I can talk a bit more about that, but I noticed Deborah's got a fairly important question here. Jay, you might want to read that out, or I'm happy to do that, but she's worried about her family. I'm just wondering if we should respond to that right now. So Deborah's scared for her grandchildren, her daughter and her 2 kids are missing, and 2 mentally handicapped sons in 2 different group homes. That's my struggle. So I've got something I could share with you on that, Deborah, but I think I'd like to, Jay, over to you for a minute.
Deborah, thank you for putting that out there and sharing this with us. And, you know, it's I could say it's easy for Jen or I to share our perspective, but here's the truth: is neither one of us are having your experience. This is your reality right now. You have multiple situations, circumstances that are happening in your family right now. And so I'm not comfortable really sharing a whole lot because I'm not in it. You know, until someone's in my shoes, it's always very easy for people to give their opinion. And opinions are just that. However, what I would say, as far as how I have navigated through my own circumstances when everything's hitting at once in my own life, is I look at what are the things that I can control? What are the things that I personally can either influence, change, inspire, improve upon for myself first, and then for my loved ones second? Because as they say, when you board that airplane and they're going through the emergency guidelines, they tell you the first thing you got to do is put the mask on yourself, not the person sitting next to you, even if it's your infant or child, or parent, or sibling, whomever, stranger. We have to first get ourselves stabilized. And so for me, what I learned is that no matter what's going on with my family members, friends, loved ones, in any given moment, I have to accept that there are things that are out of my control. And there's where I could lean into prayer and faith over fear. And secondly, what other steps that I can do to either help myself navigate through these moments of uncertainty, and or what can I do to be available, to be of service to my loved ones without being there if they're not asking for assistance. And so that's pretty much how I handle it today. I look at, if I have no control over it, then I have to work on accepting that God or the universe or the divine or whomever you may believe in, if you do believe in something outside of yourself, live in faith over fear and trust that in this moment, it's going to be okay. Just in this moment, we can create even a mantra for ourselves. I'm a big believer. I have created a whole bunch of mantras that absolutely have taken me out of that sympathetic nervous system response that you were alluding to that creates disease, by releasing it's a real fight or flight chemical reaction. We release cortisol and adrenaline into our system that creates disease. Or what can I do to flip it from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic response system, which is endorphins and serotonin? And those are the feel good. Those are the calming chemicals, neurotransmitter chemicals that we release into our body. That calms us down, lowers our blood pressure, lowers our heart rate. And so mantras are a big part for me. One of them is I say, while I'm on my spiritual practice every morning, faith over fear. When I realize in the moment that I'm in thought about something that I have concern or worry over, I just start the mantra. I just start chanting, faith over fear, faith over fear, faith over fear. And I say it louder, and I say it louder and louder as I get closer and closer. And the louder I say it, I could start to feel it vibrating within my chakras and within myself. And that helps me in that moment calm down just enough. And if that doesn't work, I usually have music on. I'm listening to music that is therapy for me. I listen to instrumental music that is known to, again, bring us into the parasympathetic calming response. And so if the song's not working, one of my clients said to me, so what do you do if the song's not working? I say, I change the song. And he said to me, well, what happens if the next song's not working? I change the station. So there's all these different things. And then if it's not that mantra, the next mantra is, it's possible. Yes, it's possible. Yes, it's possible. There's another mantra. And there's a third mantra. Yes, 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 I'm healed. I'm healed. Yes, healed. Yes, healed. Those are the types of tools that I reach for that help get me out of my head and get me into my heart space. Because that's where the truth lies. That's where our answers are. All of our wisdom, we already have our answers in life. It's just our thinking. It's that little child that gets scared, and our job is to calm them down, him and her. So there's my long answer, Jen. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
I do. And I want to just, I guess, reinforce and underline that everything you've said, that's exactly right. And Deborah, I really, my heart is feeling for you where you are right now, and I understand that and as Jay said, it's how do we move from the fear response to the response of love. And a couple of things I guess I wanted to say, and Jay, you and I have spoken about this a lot, about faith versus fear. And if we really subscribe to this notion that we are supported and that we are looked after, then we have to have, this is a time for faith. And what I've done, and similar to Jay, I've had some really difficult times. A little bit of my backstory is that I've dealt with some very severe anxiety in my life. And the journey through that for me was not about pushing away the thing that I was afraid of. It was about quite just allowing it to be there, and about breathing into it. And depending on how you're feeling in your body, and Jay's talking about the turning off the fear response and turning on the feel-good hormones. The best way that we can do that is actually to, when we're feeling that clenching of fear, whatever it is, wherever it is in our body, and typically I have felt it in my stomach, is to actually, instead of trying to run away from that feeling, is actually breathing straight down into wherever that feeling is. Because ultimately, our fear is a reminder of two things. It's a reminder of the fact that we have a chance to make a choice in this moment about choosing love or fear. We've got that choice. And the other thing that our fear is a reminder of is that we do have this inner child, this inner being who needs to be heard. So, and this is around acknowledging that. So when I'm in a difficult situation, and I can't profess to completely understand your situation, but when I'm in a highly anxiety-provoking situation like the one you're talking about, I just find a space of calm, but I breathe into and acknowledge that my body is feeling a certain way. So, because I think for a lot of us in our society, we've been told to, stiff upper lip, particularly from my English, Australian, Anglo background, it's stiff upper lip. Just move on, keep going. And that certainly has worked for some people, but I think when you're in a situation where you're sensitive and you do feel these things deeply, it's actually about acknowledging that. So acknowledging, breathing in, and understanding. And then this is when I moved to the faith piece, and this is where I got my real breakthrough, to understand that this too shall pass. And that's another mantra, as Jay's talking about, this too shall pass. And to understand that this feeling that I'm feeling right now is going to pass. And as Jay said, bringing yourself into a calm space, turning on the feel-good endorphins is really, really important. But what I have found also incredibly and it's about bringing ourselves back to solidity within ourselves, because as Jay said, we can't put the mask on anyone else until we've got ourselves in a calm position. So number one, how do I and you'll know for you what brings you to center and groundedness as quickly as possible. So when you're feeling this fear, and I can feel that energy that you're feeling, when you're feeling that energy, bringing yourself back down and into your heart space and into a calm space. So whatever that looks like, the breathing, the acknowledgement, just really calming down. Then what I've found when it is that I'm worrying about loved ones, and you've got a few situations there that you're worrying about, this is when I have found that I pull out the frequency of trust. And when I work with people, I talk a lot about the frequencies that they're holding within their bodies. And this frequency of trust is a really, really vital frequency. It's what I call one of the master frequencies. And this is a frequency that we're really being called to at this time, is if we believe what we say we believe, and if we subscribe to what we subscribe to, and then we have to trust that things are going to work out okay, that there is something in this for us. And when we're in a situation when we're dealing with loved ones at a distance, which you are, then what I do is I hold those people in trust and in love. I envisage them being surrounded by a golden light of love, because while I can't physically be with them, I can definitely send my energy and frequency to surround them and love them. And that's really a very core technique that I use. I'm using that technique in terms of my father and his situation in this lockdown. I can't be with him, so I'm sending that love and that trust to him, and also all of the people he's in a group living facility like your sons. So the best I can do is to send that love, that trust, that golden light to those people, trusting that they are going to be fine, trusting that those people who are in caregiving situations around are going to know what to do, trusting that their hands will be guided, that their thoughts will be guided, that they'll be inspired to do what's right in the moment. And this is when we talk about surrender, this is the ultimate in surrender, but we're not, and I think it took me a long time to get what surrender was all about. Surrender is not about letting go and whatever. This is ultimately, surrender is about surrendering to the trust and the love that is available. Surrendering to the trust and love of the universe, knowing that these people, that while I can't physically be there, I can send love, and the universe can be sending love and wrapping those people up in love. So I don't know if that helps or not, but certainly this is where, and allows us, this is what we can do when we're feeling at a distance. We can't do a lot, we can still send love. And what we know is that our energy and our vibration can make a difference. Scientific studies, various studies now have shown that when people meditate for others, it improves their health outcomes. So if you can just sit, and it's meditation though, in love, in loving kindness and in support, and putting these people in a place of love and hope and uplifting them, that's the difference. So that's something that we can all of us do, and that we can all of us do, is we can physically send love out to our family, but also our loved ones, but to our community, our countries, and our planet. And I've created a meditation that actually steps through not only that feeling solid within yourself, but also how to send that love out. So I can make that available, if you like, Jay, at the end as well.
Is that going to be a link? Do you have the link set up yet that we could put on a banner?
My technology has not quite worked for me, but I'm just going to ask people to email me at hello@jenramsey.com, and I will send you a link to the meditation. Anyone who's watching, just send an email to hello@jenramsey.com, and I will send that to you. You'll get the meditation, and then you'll get There's 5 steps there. There's also a 5-step guide to help keep your calm, choose calm, and help you to raise your vibe in this time. And Deborah, I'm seeing that you are doing that too, and praying a hedge of angels around all your kids. And honestly, Deborah, that is the best and most powerful thing you could do. That's the best and highest use of your energy right now. So you're doing it. You're amazing. Keep going.
I want to thank you for sharing that, Deborah, and bringing that up. And one of the things I've learned for myself is that when I hold on to something inside through thought, and I don't share it, it takes on so much more power than it needs to. I have found that when I put it out and I share it with somebody, just somebody, only one person even, it releases so much of the weight and the burden behind it. It feels like it releases it. Sometimes it can even help to dissolve it. And for me personally, Jen, I've got 3 sons, and they're not in state. Mary's got 3 children. So between the 2 of us, we've got 6, and none of them are here in the state of Arizona in the US of A. And how I'm handling it for me personally is I'm checking in. I'm checking in with my children on a regular basis now. My oldest boy, who I mentioned earlier, he's got all the symptoms. He's been on self-quarantine. Thursday will be 2 weeks ago. He had major exposures through his business. He had exposure to musicians who had been on tour. As that's the business he's in, and a few other environments in public in Southern California, which is one of the hotbeds in the United States. And he got tagged. Unfortunately, he was turned away. His doctor did check him for strep and I believe the flu, but they didn't have tests a week ago. They had something like some crazy number available, and he didn't qualify in their opinion. So he self-quarantined and appeared as though my daughter-in-law got a mild case of it. Although in the last 3 days, she's not doing well. She's got it pretty bad. So the best I could do is just check in with my children and continue to do what I do to take care of myself and manage my thoughts through healthy lifestyle choices to help distract me from the things that I know will and can impact me and bring me down that rabbit hole as well. So for me personally, the number one thing that I do is, like yourself, really manage how much exposure I have. But more importantly than that is, what can I do to boost my immune system? I did a blog on it a couple of days ago and I shared it. And it just really comes down to working hard to reduce the fear and getting more back into that calming feeling within response system, and then through nutrition and through movement. For me, that's where I find calm, is when I get out of my house and get into nature. And even if it's just walking in a neighborhood, whatever it is, it's just getting out from within the 4 walls that can be confining at times. And so that's what helps me tremendously. But most importantly is that I have most confidence is in nutrition and how I choose to take care of myself today, the choices I make. And it's not always easy, because I had a very seductive relationship with food. I mean, that was one of my addictions for decades. I had a food addiction, and so, it's like anything else. When things are going well for you, it's easy to say you're doing good. It's when we're challenged that we really get to see how much progress we have made and how well we truly are doing. People ask me today, how am I doing? I say, all things considered, I'm doing well.
I think you're doing amazingly, actually.
And you know what? Thank you, Jen. The truth is, it's good enough, because I'm comfortable with the action that I'm taking for myself to do my best to protect me. Now, there's no guarantee, but what I know is this, is that I know that if I do my part and then something, if I do get tagged, it just means that behind that, there's another lesson. There's another growth opportunity. It means that that's the intention. I'm supposed to be tagged with it so that I could learn what I need to learn, so that I could grow and then I could share it and then inspire others how they can navigate. So I embrace it the same way you do. As I look at each day as I wake up, what I do know is that there's going to be things that are going to unfold that I can't anticipate. And I don't want to try to anticipate and predict them so that I can avoid them. I open my mind and my heart space to receive all of these experiences just for today. And knowing that in the end, I'm going to be okay, no matter what.
Absolutely, Jay. I love that. And it's so true. We are going to be okay no matter what. And it's actually, this is, if we think about there's a myriad of lessons to learn here within this experience, this collective experience. And I think what's fascinating, this is not just affecting one country or one city in one country. This is a global collective experience. So this is a big up-leveling for us as a society in terms of how we're being asked to look at how we deal with things like fear, illness, all of these sorts of things. And I guess for me is I'm like you. It's how do the analogy I keep coming, the vision that I keep getting is the Rock of Gibraltar. You know, how can I be my own Rock of Gibraltar when things are going to change? Because as you said, Jay, just then, more change is coming. Change is the new normal with this situation, and we're getting more fit in terms of how to deal with change. But how, I think for me, the core thing is, how do I stay solid and strong inside me? And as you've said, it's your nutrition, it's your spiritual practice, it's your commitment within yourself, and likewise for me. And it's about always choosing this perspective. But so if we can get that really strong, this is an opportunity for us to get our internal practices so strong that no matter what happens, we can be as strong as that rock in a storm. I mean, I think that's one of the big lessons here is how can I become strong, solid, and powerful within myself and empowered within myself to withstand whatever happens on my outside. Because when we get to that point, it is amazing the things that we can do. And also we can get to very inspired solutions. When we're in fear, we are going to go into a negative spiral. We're not going to come up with great ideas. But when we're in when we're strong and feeling, strong within ourselves, inspiring ideas and creative ideas can come up that we had no idea about.
Yeah. Paul McFarland just said he was attracted because he saw that we are going to be coming in from Amsterdam. Paul, I'm not sure if you're still with us or not, but that was the intention. I did have a third person joining us coming in from Amsterdam. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out for him, and we didn't get that note until 5 minutes before we went live. So I'm hopeful when he gets back into the States, which will maybe be Friday, maybe over the weekend, I'll have Trevor Korn come in live from the United States. He's been overseas since September. He's been living in Germany, which is one of the hottest spots across the globe. This pandemic going on. And last week, he actually was in Paris. And right now, he jumped out of Paris and he is in Amsterdam, heading home, hopefully if he can get out on Thursday. So it wasn't intentionally to mislead you and to tease you, but in life, sometimes what we intend to have happen doesn't always work out, and that's us being able to accept that. Just for now, it's okay as long as Trevor is safe and he's taking care of himself. That's what's most important. I want to touch on one other topic that's coming to mind right now, because you mentioned, and I want to take a moment to thank you for sharing your truth, that you had really struggled with heightened anxiety for much of your life, Jen, as did I. And we did a show just on anxiety last year. And what I'm aware of is that there are people, millions of people across the globe that prior to this moment in time have not gotten their anxiety, their mental health challenges under control. They're just in the moment, truly, we're struggling even before this moment in time. And what this moment in time is doing for a lot of people is just amping up their mental health circumstances. And, you know, I personally, I hadn't encountered it yet until this morning. I went to jump into a trail for a couple hours to do some self-care, prayer, meditation, nature bathing, grounding. And as I was waiting for a parking spot, this woman just kind of came straight at me. I was sitting parked with my blinker on, and she literally came within 2 feet of me, and she was screaming and yelling at me in a car. And she was probably about my age, and she had a woman in a car with her who probably looked like to be her mom. And then she pulled around me, and I rolled in my window, and I said, "Are you okay?" And she was screaming and yelling at me. She's like, "You know, it would really help if you got out of the middle of the lane or whatever." And clearly I wasn't. And I just let it go, because in that moment, it wasn't about where I had parked my car. It had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with where I was waiting for the spot. It had to do with the fact that this woman is suffering in that moment. She is scared, and it had nothing to do with me. And it was a beautiful moment for me. One, because I could have empathy for her, and two, I didn't get triggered and get defensive, which is, you know, how I used to show up in the ego space. And I got to just honor her by just saying, I hope you're able to calm down. That's all I said to her. I hope you're able to calm down. And so, you know, what is our role? What can our role be? Not just you and I, but others that are watching us live. And I want to take a moment just to honor you and thank those that did join us on us live or that catch us on replay. It means so much to me that you've taken time out of your day to turn off the news, even if it's just for a few minutes, and tune into this conversation. Means a lot to Jen and I. But Jen, what do you think we all can do to help others that right now are just so wired and so out of control emotionally, that may come at us in a very unexpected moment, like I encountered? What would you suggest?
I feel how you handled that, Jay, was exactly how we need to handle it. This is about allowing and accepting. And I think this is one of the other truths that we are really being encouraged to take on now, is how do we allow and accept difficulty in our life, and how do we meet that with compassion and with grace? And it feels to me like that's exactly what you did this morning. You allowed, you accepted, you had compassion, and you had grace. And I think it's, for us, it's where, how do we just support others? And sometimes it can be just about listening and allowing them to have their moment, rather than, because I had a conversation with someone yesterday about this, and I was talking about the fact that if we try and force our view on others, that can actually also trigger them right now. So even, you know, this is about having this solid energy within ourselves, not necessarily having to force that view out onto other people, because I don't believe in ever forcing a view on anyone. But it's about having this solid energy that people feel drawn to. People will feel your confidence. People will feel your inner strength. And then they will come to you, and they may want to share. They may have a reaction. It's about how do you, again, it's that, how do you meet that with compassion and grace and allow and accept it? You know, managing your own response. And I think managing your own responses, because too amping up doesn't solve a situation. It is just about allowing, accepting, and understanding that people are in fear, and people are going to do strange things. And hopefully even before that, we can actually be just checking in on our neighbours, on our extended family members, people in our community, people we might work with, people you haven't heard from in a while. Maybe just send them a quick text message and say, how are you going? Because I think sometimes people are in their own silence and are frightened, and they don't know how to reach out. So as well as dealing with those overt fear reactions, there could be some people who have been quite silent in your life. And it's about us reaching out and showing care, because I think that's another lesson for us here, is how do I reach out and support people in my community? So that's what I'm aware of at the moment. It's to do
Beautiful.
those couple of things.
Beautiful. I'd like to share, from my perspective, Jen, a few things that I've chosen to do, at least for today. One is I live in a elder community. I'm one of the younger ones. There are younger people than me here, but there's a whole high percentage of seniors that live in this. It's not an adult-only community, but I do live in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it is a retirement community at best. We have a community page, and last night I posted, I just said, if any of you are age over 65 and you're unable to, or you're concerned about going out to get groceries or get some of your basic needs met in the community, send me a note and I'd be happy to help you at this time. And I also said I invited others in that same message. If there's others like myself that are available and are willing to help in a community, please feel free to put it out there on this note. And 3 or 4 people responded today and offered the same. Now, nobody has taken me up on it. Am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that at some point somebody will have the courage to say, yes, I could use the help. I'm scared, or I want to be smart and I don't want to be out in public because I'm 75 or 85 or whatever it is, and I have a compromised immune system. That's the first thing. The second thing is, the last couple of months, I personally have retreated from doing a lot of live shows. If you may or may not be aware, I haven't been on the air a whole lot on Spirituality Gone Wild and the other channels. And that's because I've been using this time for, I have a group coaching community. We meet twice a week, and I've been investing a lot of my own energy into this group of people that are just so committed and dedicated to up-leveling their own emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. And when I'm not with them, I'm coaching one-on-one clients. And the third reason is because I was using that time just to do some inner work, unknowing what we were about to encounter in this moment. But I just trusted that that's where I needed to be. I just wasn't feeling pulled to really go live and do shows. And so I just trusted the process and where I was. And that was then. Now, this is where I'm at today, Jen, is that I feel like part of me showing up as a coach, as an international coach, working with people all over the world, this is my time to step up and step out and not retreat inward, which for me is not a good place to be in this time. Right now, the best place I could be is right here, being of service, sharing what I know, what has helped me, and inviting people like yourself to share your experience, your strength, your hope, and your wisdom from having navigated through your own personal journeys of healing. And so I think that's the greatest gift that we get to give in the work we do today, is to be more active, be more present, be more available to those that raise their hand or reach out and are available and are seeking some relief, some answers, some comfort, some unconditional love even.
Absolutely, Jay. And look, I agree with you. I mean, like you, I've come out of a bit of a silent retreat. I was the same as you. My mum passed away, and I'm noticing Alida McLeod is saying her father, Alexander, born in March 1933, is not well and is in hospital. I'm sending you lots of love for him, Alida. And my dad is born in that same year, so he's a November baby. So, this last year I've been in a bit of a silent retreat myself, like you, Jay. I'd lost my mother this time last year, and I used that time to go inward. But you're right, when I'm pretty qualified to talk about dealing with fear and anxiety, because I sometimes say I had a PhD in anxiety, and now's the time to actually share with people how to navigate these waters, because you can do it. And I guess that's probably one of the key things, is that you can come through this. You can deal with fear. You can manage anxiety and live a great life. And you do not need to be labeled. You do not need to be even see yourself as someone with that if you don't choose to. This is about, again, it's consciously choosing your perspective. So I think in this time, you're right, Jay, fear has come to our consciousness. It's a topic we can now discuss openly. You and I were discussing it last year. We've been discussing it for the last couple of years. But I think it is, but I guess my key message around that is that anxiety and fear do not need to define you. Quite the opposite. They can be a part of your reality, which they have been for me, but they can also be great teachers and show you really the path home. And that's what they've done for me. They've shown me the path home to here, to my own strength, to my own sense of worthiness and solidity within myself. And you're right, Jay, I feel a bit called right now to just have these sorts of conversations, because, as I said, you can live in silence, and there's a lot of suffering in silence around fear and anxiety and overwhelm and self-doubt, people who don't like to admit that they're experiencing it. And I did that for many years, and you can feel weird and that you don't fit in and that you're hopeless and that there's something really wrong with you, when there's actually nothing. It's just a situation that you can learn to navigate and really learn from. There's a lot in it. So you can get through this, and we are all, as a community, we are going to move through this as a community. We're going to get a lot of learnings. We may have some losses of loved ones, and I think we've got to acknowledge that. And I guess, Jay, the other thing is that, I mean, I have a very strong belief that a death is not the end. It's a transition to another reality. And there's a lot of beauty in that. So again, how we deal with and navigate that, that's a conversation for another day. You and I have talked about on this show as well. But this is something that I think for right now, let's just stay focused on how do we keep ourselves centered and grounded, build our inner strength, our inner core, so that we can navigate what's coming up in the future. And knowing that we can do it, I can absolutely promise you, you can reach in. You have everything you need inside. You have love, you have strength, you have resilience. You have your own internal power because you can choose that. It's just a choice.
Beautiful. Jen, I want to take a moment to thank you again. We are just over the hour, and out of respect, it's a new day for you. It's an early morning back in Australia. It's coming up about 3:30 here at the West Coast, 6:30 in the evening on the East. I appreciate you so much for taking time, getting up early. I believe you actually may have even set an alarm for us today. Something you may or may not do, I don't know. But I appreciate you to joining us today and having this important conversation. And I do plan on coming back live tomorrow. I'm going to have Priya Saklani joining me in the studio, coming in from, I believe she's Mumbai. I know she's in India. She's either New Delhi or Mumbai. I always get it mixed up. It doesn't matter. She's going to be here live tomorrow, sharing her own experience as India is making preparations and also has some cases of COVID-19. So Priya will be with me in the studio tomorrow, and we'll keep this going. We'll see how long we can show up for others and keep this conversation going as we get deeper into this moment. Jeremy Melton, thank you so much for joining us. Jeremy is a friend of mine. I've got a number of people here, but I just saw him pop on only because I see his comment. He says, wonderful info and insight. I believe Jeremy, thankfully, is grounded. He is out of the Poconos in Pennsylvania on the East Coast, and hopefully you and your beautiful wife, Autumn, and young daughters are doing some healthy choices, self-care to boost your immunities, as that's about the best we can do right now. And with that, Jen, I'd like to invite you just to give some closing thoughts and put a wrap on this show.
Well, Jay, first I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity, and I think these good conversations are the conversations that are going to support us all, and I really appreciate everyone's comments and the questions that you asked. Deborah, your questions were great because they really, it's real. This is a real situation. This is a live situation. It's unfolding, and how do we deal with it in the moment? So, I guess my closing comment would be is that how we deal with it in the moment is through the choice that we take, the conscious choosing that we continue to do. And when we're feeling fearful and stressed, it could be in every moment. I've got to remember, you may need to remember, I've got to get back to choice. I've got to get back to choice. And it doesn't matter how many times during the day you might feel you slip into fear, you can always come back. There's no pass or fail on any of this. It's just there's always that beautiful next new moment. Each moment is a new moment, and you can come into that moment and choose a different way of being. So I guess my comment is to really encourage you to consciously choose peace and love and faith and trust over the fear. Keep yourself prepared, be common sense, keep it, check in once or twice a day to see what you should be doing in your local community. I'm not saying that we should bury our head in the sand, but really understand that if you can become this conscious, solid rock within yourself, you are going to weather this, and you're going to be able to really help your family and your community and the planet as a whole by sending lots of love and faith and really good vibes out there. If you're feeling stressed and if you're feeling, finding it difficult to come back and choose calm, I have created this Choose Calm meditation. If you would like a copy of that, just email me at hello@jenramsey.com. I will send a copy of that to you. It's available now. I can send that to you. And I will, I'll provide a further update in the comments here when there's an easier link. But at this moment, just email me hello@jenramsey.com and we'll get that to you, because it's a 9-minute meditation, easy to do, calm, will get you into a great space so that you can choose. And it also sends a lot of love out to the world as well. It's a twofold meditation. It's about calming you, but also helping you send love out to the world. So lots of love to you all. And Jay, thank you once again for this time. You are my soul brother, and I feel so grateful to have met you and to know you. And let's keep talking.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much, Jen. I love you, and be safe and be smart. And we'll speak another time. Thank you so much for joining us on Real People, Real Stories, Raw. For those of you that joined us today, thank you. Take a step today to do something for yourself that you have control over, and make some good choices for yourself, as Jen so eloquently said. With that, we'll catch you tomorrow at 12 noon, 3 p.m. on the East Coast. That will be about midnight or so. 12:30 a.m. coming in from India with Dr. Priya Saklani for her to share what life is like over in India right now. I love you guys, and no matter what, we got this. No matter what, it's possible. We'll catch you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.